2004 is a significant year for the UK motoring world. It will be 45 years since the birth of one of Britain's best-loved cars, the marvellous Mini. To celebrate this landmark in British manufacturing history, Mini World magazine held its own tribute at Sandown Park in Surrey. But where did it all begin?
First Mini came out August 1959 to an unbelieving audience who I think generally thought it was a bit of rubbish because it was so different to most cars. It existed pretty much in that form until around 1970 and was produced by BMC with Austin and Morris badges up until then. British Leyland took over and it ended up in the hands of Rover Group until the end of production in October 2000. It was a car that was the friend of the people. It was the non-class car. It's like a small dog. You can't really be afraid of it, and it just makes you laugh. It's the underdog.
You seem to be part of a big family when you drive one. Everybody wants to, sort of stop and have a chat with you about the car as well. Everybody's either had one or always wanted one.
You can put your wristbands on your wristboards, please. It makes it easier during the day when you
get attention and it's just good fun. People love going in it, it's good fun.
When they launched the first car, it was the basic saloon, just a two-door with a small boot, and you could call it a four-seater. But it wasn't long before they thought, yeah, it's actually quite an easy thing to modify. Van, pickup, estate car, luxury models such as the Riley Elf and the Wolseley Hornet, which is an incredible thought, a luxury version of a cheap car. Then you're getting into the sporty stuff from '61, the Cooper S in '63, and that lasted through till about '69, '70 when it was replaced by the Clubman GT, which is the icon of the '70s. This was a cheap runabout for the people and the world's fastest rally car at the same time.
Talent Job started way back in 1990. I've always loved the film. I remember recording the film on an old VHS video recorder years ago, and I came back from university in Italy and we wanted to do something with our Minis because we were all strap-cashed, hard-up students, and we decided to drive down to the town in Italy where I was at university and steal some wine from the local wine producers, and they supported us enormously the first year, and we sent out a press release. We got 55 cars taking part and it just went from there. The Talent Job's grown greatly over the years. It's our 15th year in 2004. We've got cars from Japan, from Australia, from the States, all corners of the UK. It's just really grown so much. The event itself starts in Italy, so we give people 2 or 3 days to get down to the start point in Imola, and then we finish off back in the UK. We're finishing at the Grand Hotel in Brighton this year, so it's our 15th year this year, so we're going to make it a really big event.
Some of the models we've got today are this model, which was produced for a wedding in Japan and given to the guests when they left. This one was the Hong Kong Chinese English takeover in '97. This one is a Corgi model, Stephen King, now £475. It's now getting even more collectible. Some on the internet are making £1,000. This one we actually bought in Japan. You just cannot buy them in England now. In Japan, I think they're very popular because there's a lot of collectors in Japan, and you've got the car being small, it's easy to drive around Tokyo. This is a statue of Isagonis, who designed the Mini. This is a statue of him sitting designing it was a limited edition of 848, which is the CC of the Mini.
In the club areas, owners and enthusiasts from all over the globe have gathered to swap notes.
My name is Meerte, we're all from Holland, and it took us a day to come here. We came by boat from Calais to Dover. This is our car, this is the one which is driving. It's originally 1,000, but we put in there an MT Metro 1300 engine, so it took us quite some work. I have had a black one, a blue one, a special, and now this one. Another red one as well.
My name's Chef Drago. I'm from Vancouver, Washington. I'm a member of the Oregon Mini Society. I bought my first Mini in 1970. It was a Cooper S, and then got out of Minis for 20 years until year 2000 when I started racing a Mini and started buying Minis, and now I've got 7 of them. Minis are very big in the US amongst those who even are aware of them. However, the awareness has increased with the accessibility to the new Mini.
My name's Liz Rogers. I'm the Club and Estate Registrar. We've got about 140 Club and Estates on our list at the moment. There's not many of them around. Again, why I started the register. But they turn heads. It's different. It's really versatile. You can get so much in there. It's just a really lovely little Mini to drive. The first Club and Estate was made in 1969. They ceased production in 1981. Within that time, there were 3 different types. There was the Mark I. This is the Mark II. And the third one was the Mini HL Estate, which was the last one to be produced.
Essentially, any driver of a Mini will tell you the feedback, the fact that you get every sense of the road through your bum and through the steering wheel. So the Mini is a fantastic little car to drive and incredibly good fun. And I think that's why there's been this huge attraction towards motorsport. I've been rallying for quite some time myself. I retired in 1995 and I've rallied a variety of cars, but there's no car that gives you the fun as a Mini does. I'm here trying to promote Mighty Minis racing. So today we've actually got some of the Mighty Minis cars in the live action arena outside doing a driving display. We've got 8 of our cars here today. In fact, we've got a new girl that started with us. Her name's Caroline Gilbert, and we've got some of the older guys like John Kirby and people like that that are actually here, and they're going to be helping us do this as well.
We're here to do a display race to show people what it's like to race a Mini, give them a bit of an image of it, and get them excited about it and want to come and watch it and race. I've been racing for a week. I got my licence last year, had my first race last week at Donington, and I finished. My goal for this season has got to be just to finish, to get my signature so I'm no longer a novice, and then improve next year, get better. Had a love of Minis, always had a Mini at home ever since I was little. My first car was a Mini, just Mini mad.
A specially commissioned mini musical, Sump, charted the ups and downs of the little vehicle's history. Using just one car and a selection of mini spares, the cast recounted the car's highlights and lowlights. In its early days, it was the Mini's rallying prowess that really raised its public profile.
In '63, the Cooper S was launched. In '64, it went out for the first time in anger and won the Monte Carlo rally outright with Paddy Hopkirk at the wheel. But they also won in '65, '66 and '67 outright at the world's toughest rally. In 1966, the French were getting a bit bored, the word has it, of the Minis winning their rally at Monte Carlo. And the regulations changed to try and make it very difficult for the Minis to win, the Coopers. They did win. They came first, second and third overall, which was a proper insult to the organisers, and they were disqualified on a technicality because the Citroën team was due for a win. That's the word. They deny it, but we know it's true.
All the leading English cars were disqualified. They came in the first 4 places, Minis 1, 2, 3 and then a Ford. The French car lighting was not strictly legal with French road rules anyway, but who knows? It's a question that 40 years on will still be argued over.
Of course, the rally was very good. There was very important special stages and things like that. And the road traction was not so difficult. But even in some tight road traction, we was even making some pace notes for the whole way around if it been very bad weather or something like that.
The car we were driving was a 1275 Cooper S, prepared by the factory.
That was fantastic because that was like woman's shoes. It's very small outside and big inside. The new Mini is not like the old Mini. It's not small outside and big inside. It's very small inside and big outside, you know. It's nice and not noisy, but only one problem is bloody BMW.
I've always liked old cars. The Wolseley Hornets and Riley Elfs are a little bit different to the Minis, which obviously are one of the greatest cars of the century. And it's a little bit of fun, really. The most obvious difference, obviously, between the Riley Elf and the Wolseley Hornet is the badging and the grille design. The body shells are identical. There are various detailed differences between the Mark II and Mark III models, such as the external door hinges, the sliding windows, the extending rain gutters, but for the most part, it's purely cosmetic detailing, the difference between the two models. It was BMC's attempt to produce an upmarket Mini, which never really caught on at the time, but now people are starting to remember them and realise just what a lovely little car they are.
I've been driving Minis since 1968. As soon as I passed my test, I got into motorsport and navigated on rallies for a number of years before I even started driving. But my driver was a bit erratic, and we ended up crashing all the time, and decided I could do better myself. Today we'll be performing a fairly standard routine. I'll do a couple of manoeuvres that I've got the world record for, like the parallel park and the J-turn. I do exactly the same tricks with the new Mini as the old Mini. It's a little bit easier with the new one because it's got power steering. The old Mini got quite heavy on the steering towards the end, so that's one thing that does make it actually easier. I get all sorts of different reactions from people inside the car. The language is sometimes absolutely appalling. Some people panic and try and grab the steering wheel off you, but most people really enjoy it.
Russ, you're mad.
The arrival of the new Mini created no small amount of controversy, driving a wedge between the Mini enthusiasts.
I suppose I've been into Minis since about 1987, something like that. The new Mini, I really associated it to begin with a lot of legal argy-bargy between the suppliers of bits for the Classic and BMW. But now it's becoming more of an enthusiast car. And I've sort of changed my perception of the vehicle, but probably not changed my perception of the history behind its introduction into the UK. Well, I started a website originally for people to vent their spleen about this new company that was arriving on the scene that was stopping people selling parts for their classic car. And now it's a sort of, I feel a little bit hypocritical, because the more people with the new car that I come to meet, the more I realise that they are actually akin to where I am. They have bits falling off, they have things that need recalling, and they have things that need replacing. So maybe I'm warming to them, but if we can look under a bonnet of one, it might illustrate where I see the current problem. To fix a classic, you need to be a blacksmith. To fix a BMW Mini, you need to be a computer programmer.
I run a company called Zeemax, which we sell body styling all over the world for Minis, Porsches, BMW. And I designed this about a year ago. And because our conversion for the old Mini was so successful, I obviously thought we've got to do this. And it's been one after the other, basically.
One of the highlights of the weekend is the Concours d'Elegance. The judges certainly had their work cut out.
As a judge, I will be looking at various different categories. We will be looking at the bodywork, we'll be looking at the paint finish, we'll be looking for little dents and nicks in the paintwork, the actual brightness of the chrome. We'll be looking at the state of the carpets. We'll be looking in the engine compartment for a nice, clean engine. We won't be looking for any oil leaks. I'll tend to run my hand round the actual engine, and if it comes out dirty, then we'll deduct points. This is a perfect example. As you can see, this car's had a lot of attention round the front headlights. There is no rust whatsoever. You look round the spotlights and there is no rust. The bumpers are all immaculate. You take the engine compartment, you can see all the aluminium is beautifully polished. I could see my face right down into the engine. I could eat my dinner off this engine. The interior, the leather interior shines, the carpets are perfect. This is the sort of car that will win the concourse. This is a perfect example. You can see this rust mark underneath this headlamp here, and onto the main spotlights here, you'll see how rusty the brackets are. And this car has obviously been driven here today, but some of the cars are absolutely immaculate and have probably been trailered.
We thought that the winner of the new Mini prize for modification, because let's face it, they all need modifying, don't they? The most radical car and the best prepared is a new Mini Cooper S, designed by Zeemax, built by Zeemax, Barry Perman. Well deserved win. Well done, Barry.
Quite shocked because I didn't think they were doing any kind of prizes for the new cars, but it's very nice to be, have the prize awarded to you.
If you had a shopping list of stuff for a modified Mini, this car would include everything and probably have another 1,000 items on it. You may have seen it in the foyer as you walk past into the show. Everyone loves it. This is Andy Bamford with modified Clubman. I think it's Mick Barrett Engineering car. It's nearly 200 horsepower, nitrous, injection, 8-port, you name it. Well done, Andy. Right, cheers very much. Carl the show, Andy Bamford's 8-ball.
Well, basically it's an original 1969, 1970 Mini Clubman. It started life as a 250 quid old sieve. It's been totally ripped apart, rebuilt. I rebuilt it to a fast road